Don't be transactional, and you will stand out from everyone in your market, be able to put together deals. I always want to share that with people because
Great advice.
I think people start wrong. They think about the money or they think about the deal. I'm not working with sellers. I'm working with other owners.
Hey folks, welcome back to the High Voltage Business Builders Podcast, your podcast for anything a business related to wealth without Wall Street entrepreneurialism. That's a hard word to say, bro. Building real estate, building wealth, living the entrepreneurial dream, gaining your first million or going after your next million in business. So if you're here today to learn anything about that, then you're going to want to pay attention to my guest today. Christian has been in the real estate business for quite a long time. He's also an astute marketer. Has hit his recent 100K plus sub on YouTube, if I'm not mistaken. He's got a great channel that he's pushing together. And we have the gracious opportunity today to be in the humble settings of his new office, new framework, and his new home that he just moved into, just so we can have this conversation with you guys today. So you better pay attention, right?
There we go. Built specifically for high voltage today. I have my armchair from downstairs in my living room, a spare table, and then I actually was going to use this corner thing here, so I didn't have to get too creative. But yeah, no, super happy to be here. Welcome to my new house. First episode out of the house.
Woohoo! First episode out of the house. It's always about the message, not the means. This is just a medium to get the message. So whatever you're setting on, whatever you're doing, that's more important. We get the message out than anything else. What is it you're feeling led to tell the people today? You want to tell your story a little bit? You want to talk about what you know? Where do you want to start?
Yeah, well, I'd love to share a little bit about the adventure. Like the actual path from A to B, I think is relatable to a lot of people. It's a little unique how fast it went, but it's completely replicable. And I think I've got a few takeaways from how I did it that are really applicable to other people. If you don't know me, my name's Christian. I bought hundreds of rental properties. I started with $0. I had tons of different jobs, almost all sales jobs throughout my career. Always wanted to buy real estate. I took an 8-year career and I bought 2 duplexes in the house that I lived in. Along the way, I did a condo that I fixed up, but then we got a Frenchie. We needed a yard for a Frenchie. So I got this tiny little house outside of Seattle, 2 duplexes, those 4 rental units, cash flowed a total of about $2,000 a month. My mortgage was $2,100 a month. I basically got to a point in an 8-year career where my real estate was paying for my real estate, which is pretty cool. Unless your goal was like to be independently wealthy through real estate, which I wanted to do, but I think my goal looked like this. I would like to be wealthier and I'd like to have more income, so I'm going to buy rental properties. I think that's about as clear as my goal was. Fast forward to 2019, schools get shut down. My wife's a kindergarten teacher, so she's teaching kindergarten over Zoom for like a year and a half, which also an underserved area. So she had a lot of families that have 5 or 6 kids all sharing the internet, both parents work, and then you have a kindergartner trying to figure out Zoom. So it was already kind of miserable. We go back to schools. We reopen them. She almost immediately gets a back injury. School fights the whole way. Like she couldn't walk. She broke her hip and her lower back.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so it's like we have a major L&I thing. School is unhelpful there. So my goals changed. I went from I would like to be wealthier to I'm going to retire my wife this year. And I'm already decided when they shut down the whole planet, I'm like, I'm not going to be an inside salesperson. And I didn't like that. So I'm like, I'm leaving my job. She's leaving her job. My 10, 20-year goal became this year, I'm going to figure out this real estate thing. The next move that I made, and then I'll pass it back to you, was I stopped buying duplexes. I bought a 38-unit building when I had $0 in my bank account, seller financed, and that 38 unit made over $1 million, which my duplexes never did. And then I did it again and again and again and again. And I figured out a really easy method, at least I think really simple method to keep repeating this success. And I built a multi-100 unit portfolio over the course of the last 3 years, retired my wife, built my dream house in Texas. My goal is to provide for my family. And I'm having our first kid. Well, my wife is having my first kid in like 45 days. I can't really speed up the timeline on that one, but
no, that one comes when it comes.
But if you're trying to retire a spouse, trying to retire yourself,
of course,
or trying to build a dream house, you have a specific goal and a specific timeline. I think we're going to share some stuff on the episode that could help you get there faster.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in essence, changing and growing your life, obviously retiring a spouse, if you will, is something that a significant other, person in your life, helping them out, helping your family, new kid on the way, new house, lots of opportunities to grow. You said the duplexes you started with were in Seattle. Are you in Seattle still too?
No, so I am in Texas, a little bit outside of Dallas-Fort Worth. There's a lot about Seattle that's fun, beautiful climate for like 2 months of the year. A lot of friends there. That's where most of my family is. I absolutely love Texas. Business is easier, food's better, weather's better. There's a lot to love about Texas.
Yeah.
But I'm
Is that
down
where
here.
the
There's nothing built down here.
Okay, but did you continue the real estate business in Seattle then, or is that where your apartments and
I have
complexes
both.
were out of?
Well,
Or
so I started in Moses Lake, Washington, central
okay,
Washington, about 3 hours, 3.5 hours away from where I lived at the time. And then I have, well, how many do I have? I have like 70 rentals in Texas right now, under contract for another 44. So I'll
and
be
these
over
are
100 rentals
going to
this
be
year.
multifamily though. Now it sounds like 10,
Yes,
20,
multifamily.
30, 50 or more doors per a property.
Yes. Largest I've done has been a 40 unit, under contract for another 44. But yeah, I do a lot of mid-sized multifamily. I found there's not a lot of competition for them, and they're a lot easier to scale than trying to build your portfolio one duplex at a time, or even worse, one house at a time. It takes a lot of transactions to actually get anywhere. If you're kind of meandering forward like I used to be, sometimes adding a house here and there feels great. I found on the slightly larger building, they're easier to scale. It's less transactions. They make more money. I think it's a more sustainable business model to buy multifamily than single family personally.
Well, if I'm doing math in my head, which is dangerous because I went to remedial public school, so I'm not the greatest at math. We have to get a calculator and take my shoes off. But if you did a 38 unit multifamily, from what I heard you say correctly, that did over $1 million in sales in 1 year.
So we bought the deal for $2 million. It was
Okay.
on market for about 12 years, 13 years,
Okay.
same price. Anyone could have bought this deal. This is one you can go online and it's listed. You can just buy it.
Yeah.
$2 million. It had a lot of problems with collections. So they had a lot of family members living there. It had really low debt. They've owned the thing for like 30 years, but it had a lot of collections problems. It was bringing in $5,000 a month for 38 units in Washington State, which is insanely bad. We took those collections after buying it from 5,000 to, I think our first refinance, we were bringing in 23,500. We fixed the collections problem. We got the money back up. We went to a bank and our appraisal came in at 3.8 the first time we did it. So we bought for 2. We refinanced 11 months later with a valuation of 3.8. We were able to pull about $1 million out of the property at that time. Of course, it cash flowed a lot. It cash flowed $10,000 a month or so. But the real value there was we were able to pull a ton of money out of that, continue to service that debt with a ton of margin because we still got a fairly low loan to value.
23,000 in a month, 5,000 out.
Yeah. Not a horrible deal. We then increased the value again. Last appraisal was 4.1 million. And that was before we leased a whole bunch of other units.
Okay.
So that project, that single project, you buy for 2, it's worth 4. Doesn't take that long as you're a better manager than the last person. Simple
Yeah,
math.
there's a couple of intricacies. Maybe we can unpack that just a little bit for those who are listening. Of course, there's the no money down real estate opportunity you created. There's the obvious, collections problem we should unpack for just a second if you want to. And there's, of course, changing the value equation to move, obviously, rental prices into a position to accommodate a change from 5 to 23,000 out of 38 units. You had to obviously increase everybody's
If
the
you're
value
doing
of the property
residential
plus
thing,
increase their rates, right?
absolutely. And if you're doing the residential thing, this is the mindset shift I think most people go through. As you scale your business, you really want to buy 5 units and up because your valuation is based heavily on your performance.
Okay.
You have a market cap rate, which is what someone's willing to pay for the income stream that you create.
Yep.
Easy math. So the easiest way to do this math, at least in my mind, a 6 cap market, which just happens to be both markets I buy in are like a 6.5 cap. So that's, if you bought the deals in cash, that would be what your return is. Every $100 I increase rent, it's $1,200 a month of new revenue. Now, when you increase rent $100, you don't increase your expenses. So you've just created $1,200 of new net operating income. Divided by 0.06 is $20,000. So the very, very easy math for those who are like, so how are you making all of this money it was paper money, it's equity, unless you pull it out with a refinance. But how are you making new money? Well, if you find a building in your market where rent can be increased by $100 and you have, say, 38 units, well, that's 38 times
$3,800 a month.
$20,000. However, we raised rent by like $300. So now you have 38 times 60,000 per door increase. You can make a ton of money and you can actually directly influence that, as opposed to single family or duplexes up to 4plex, where it's like my valuation is based on what my neighbor managed to sell for. And they do appreciate, they do go up over time, but you don't have the same level of control. In multifamily, which I'm calling 5 units and up,
Mm-hmm.
you are specifically rewarded for being a better operator. So you talked about management and increasing rents. I ended up starting a management company as I bought the 38. 2 weeks later, I bought a 6-plex. 2 weeks later, I bought a 7-plex. I think about 2 months after that, I bought a 12 and a 10. As I started scaling my portfolio, I needed more people, I needed more systems, but that management piece allowed me to put people in place and systems in place to fix problems with bad management,
Mm-hmm.
even on great buildings. I bought a lot of buildings that didn't need that much maintenance and some that did, but on mismanaged buildings, you can just make a ton of money by being a better manager than the last
By
person.
just managing them better. When it
Yeah.
got down to just the collections, was that a matter of, honoring commitments to take capital that weren't, cash that weren't there from, say, last month or 2 months rent back? Or did you just simply set up a new process or an eviction notice status on certain counts that had gone out of arrears, if you were, in 30, 60, 90 days? How did you set up those criteria?
So we went through, so there's 2 things to work on. One, a reasonably high vacancy. We pretty much immediately went into the local housing authority, a group called Hope Source, another group called New Hope, but basically all of the housing assistance programs, because this was an older building.
Yeah.
We did a really good job on our interior renos. The buildings looked really nice. They're really clean. They hit all the Section 8 standards, which if you, by the way, they have pretty rigorous standards. If you meet all the renovation standards for Section 8, all of the other housing programs will, generally speaking, love you. So we went through their checklist. We prepped the units. We did a good deal of leasing with government programs. So I got government-backed checks. This was also during very end of 2020, maybe early 2021. So when I was buying these properties, this is when the rent assistance checks were available. So they had all of these delinquencies. Immediately on close, we were able to go to the government and just say, hey, can we get, for all these people who haven't paid in like a year, can we get 3 months of their past due and 3 months of their future rent right now? So for a large part of the building, I got 6 months of the scheduled rent all at once.
Gotcha.
Now, is that same system available right now? No, but there's government programs everywhere. There's so much money available to you in real estate, especially if you're providing value add, low income housing. If you are adding to fighting homelessness, like you're doing a good thing for the community and you're actually doing a good job, there's a lot of money available to you. We use the systems that were already in place that other people weren't using. Again, going back to being a better manager than the last person, we got the collections up. That adds to the books. When we go to refi with the bank, they look at our total collections. They don't care who paid it at the time. They can see that we had rent logged for 3 months before we bought it. We had 6 months of books right off the bat there, which really helped us kickstart our renos when you start with no money. It is nice when you have a little cash injection up front.
Yeah, cool. Thank you for explaining that. That's good detail.
It was fun. Fun adventure. We learned it all as we went. Our only mission, it was me and my 21-year-old partner, Cody Davis. Okay. Our only mission was let's buy it and not lose it. Like that was as far as we got. We
buy it
and buy it. And we know we're winning on price. $2 million is ridiculously inexpensive for that much real estate.
Yeah.
Then it's like, wow, okay. Mortgage is like $10,000 a month on our custom amortization, and it brings in $5 today. We have to fix that really fast because we don't have money. And so that's what we did. While we were under contract, we did the due diligence, we came up with a plan, and then we just got out and executed.
Yeah. Now, were you the guy in doing the work, or did you hire, or how did you get the work done to increase the value of the?
We did some of the work. We did the property management work. We did all of our notice postings, telecommunications, all the government negotiation pieces. We did all that. Some of the renos we did some of, but I'm talking light work. Fixing doors and doorknobs, fixing some stoves. On the renovations, neither of us are qualified. We also lived 3.5 hours away from that property. So we subbed it out. We got absolutely destroyed on pricing because we didn't know what things were supposed to cost for renovations at that time. I think we were averaging like $20,000 a unit for turn. Today I can do the same unit turns at $8,000 for it's pretty heavy lift, but I can get a great unit, very clean, very nice at an average of $8,000. We were paying over double that, and we were just absolutely getting robbed, which we learned fairly quick. But yeah, we call that the stupid tax. Whenever you do anything new, I don't care what business.
Call it the stupid tax on our end too. Doing things by yourself, not knowing who your connections are, not knowing how to get it done. You go in and either through time, which is also cost, or the actual money you lose. Yeah, you could pay a stupid tax walking on your own, and it can be very expensive at times. It could be deal ending if you're not careful. Yeah, so we talk about as well, and the value of mentoring and relationships, no doubt. Can fix some of those. We've all paid them. I paid them. We're all guilty of it in some ways. We try our best at times, and they're like, "Hey, wait a minute." But
I always ask on my podcast, I'll ask you on yours. What
sure.
has been your highest stupid tax thus far?
I got too heavily excited and leveraged into a high-tech business out of Oklahoma, and just it was a billion-dollar idea. And I can say that with wholehearted truth, that had the patents and all the opportunity behind it, including the financing and the money. However, I got too emotionally leveraged into the deal and didn't see how they were spending the money exactly or how they were leveraging the opportunity. We never really went to market with anything besides the working prototypes that we didn't actually deploy into the field in their full capacity. And I did not realize where those funds were going. And because I got too leveraged into it emotionally, I put too much capital into it. And then that literally spiraled out of control until I had to file business bankruptcy to indemnify myself from the nonsense that I discovered in that business that I didn't do and didn't want to take responsibility for. So I had to literally do a business and personal bankruptcy to get out of it. And therefore, I paid a very stupid tax. And
There
had
we
to
go.
start
That
over.
that is an expensive one.
It was a very expensive tax. Yes. And I learned a lot in that process about people and trusting and finances and accounting and where the money goes and where I stay in control of the money when I'm involving my own money and energy into it and taking more of a brutal, dirty look at it. As Jim Collins has said, and I was on a podcast earlier talking about this, good to great, turn the rock over and look at the nasty, ugly things and be very pragmatic. Ask yourself, what's the worst that can happen? Then face it, deal with it, and then do the freaking work. And that was a stupid tax. I had to learn all that underneath.
Oh, and you hit the nail on the head. The word control in there. That is
Yes,
so important, especially if anyone else's money is involved. That was one of
that
my
is
early
correct.
principles. I
That
watched
is correct.
someone
And
raise
some of my
money and then
family,
lose other people's. It's like if
well,
you're,
and when it's your family too, that's also troublesome
oh,
because they had to own part of that too. That's called the friends, family, and fools tax too.
yes, I've unfortunately had to learn that one as well.
Limited effort and had any success whatsoever can speak on it with integrity, has said they have not made stupid mistakes. In all
Oh,
honesty.
yeah.
Yep, absolutely. Painful mistakes, relationship ending mistakes in some cases. Yeah,
Yes.
that's a great question, but it's really the truth. If you get into the higher level conversations I had with some friends and people that have been in business longer and done deeper and wider and bigger and into billions in sales, you find out everybody pays a stupid tax along the
Oh
way.
my gosh, yeah. And some of them are crazy expensive, and you learn, and
Crazy
it's the
expensive.
cost of doing business.
It
That's
changes.
why
It
all of your
shifts,
early
and
stuff
rolls
is
it
more
out.
expensive than your later stuff because you've just learned more things.
Well, absolutely. Let's say you get into a $2 million business deal with 38 units, and all of a sudden you find out the entire core of your 38 unit business is actually eaten out by termites. Oh, could you imagine? Right now it's like, well, shoot, we bought a $2 million barn that we need to raise to the ground because it's not worth it anymore. Yeah.
But you you keep playing the game, and that's really where I came with the underwriting criteria. But how do you own it? How do you never lose it? I had this early mentor with creative finance,
Yeah.
which is really how we built everything, negotiating your own debt products. And he could buy anything. I mean, like he could raise money for anything. He could convince people to sell him anything. It was incredible how good he was at creative finance. A problem is he would build businesses, he would finance them, and then he would lose them. And again, he did it with condos. He did it with office buildings. He did it with his brokerage. He did it with a company. He did it with a PPP loan business. And this guy was like the king of gambling on businesses and losing money. And so we came up with the back half, which is, okay, if we could buy anything like this guy, like if I can go out and buy anything like him, then I can hold it for a long period of time, I would factually be very rich. Like if you can hold any piece of real estate for a long period of time and you bought it for a reasonable price, you'll be worth a lot of money later. The problem is he couldn't hold it. So I was like, okay, all underwriting must boil down to how would one own it and how would one never lose it? And if you can do both pieces, and for me, that's long-term cash flowing fixed rate debt. Buy deals that pay you day one, that continue to pay you with the minimum amount of variables. That's the easiest answer to that question. But we built the whole business on that. And then I realized years later, I'm like, oh, you know what I basically did? I said, hey, if you're going to buy and hold, you need to both buy and hold. I don't know that was that novel of an idea, but guys, that's what buy and hold math comes down to. Can I buy it and can I hold it? You have to evaluate what is the maximum foreseeable stupid tax. And if I can survive that, I can buy this deal. And that's worked very well for me. I have never lost a piece of real estate. Never lost money on a piece of real estate. I've lost a lot of potential income by structuring things wrong. I've done stupid expensive things, but we've never lost the building. We've never come close to losing a building because we're so freaking conservative because I don't want to build it twice. I watch too many people do it.
Yeah, it's true. But again, that's just part of experience, right? Experience leads to knowledge and knowledge leads to wisdom. Everybody wants to jump straight to wisdom. I joke about this all the time. And they're like 19-year-old life coaches online with a check mark. It's like, well, now they're wise. It's like, no, not until you failed significantly, made bad mistakes, even had a bad partnership and killed a good deal. Have you not fully understood where your boundaries are, what you're good at, and what you know?
Yeah.
Where is the market in your opinion today? I know a lot of people who are maybe listening to this are thinking about real estate or business or e-com or some way of generating money in business and in life, or growing or expanding another million in sales of what they're doing. But in your perspective, where is it at for you today? Where do you see it penciling in?
I see the market right now is very interesting. For me, as someone who's relied, like 17 of my last 20 deals were seller financed. One of them was 100% private capital. Then 2 of them were bank deals. So I don't use banks a ton. The interest rate thing didn't affect my business like it did a lot of other people. It, of course, affected my ability to refinance and pull money out. But again, long-term cash flowing fixed rate debt, I make my own debt products. It didn't affect me as much, except I started winning on price by more because rates went up. So it's actually been kind of good for me because my business is really market agnostic and against the grain is better. Like the worse the market's doing, the more opportunities I have to buy. So for me, I'm structured better as a bear than I am a bull, but we make money in every market because it's simple principles.
Yeah.
I think the market as a whole, you see a bunch of people online having strong opinions either way. I think it's kind of boring right now. We had our big rate hike. We had all the market drama. For the most part, the people who are going to get wiped out, there's still going to be a few more through this year in multifamily. But for the most part, the people who are going to get wiped out got wiped out. Rates are coming back down. Fed said they're going to be coming back down a little bit. I don't think a whole lot, but they'll start trending back the right way. I think we stay fairly stagnant for a while. Now, during the pandemic, sorry, I don't know if I can say that word. I hope I don't ruin your algorithm here.
The thing-demic.
During the thing that happened where
that one thing
where a lot of stuff started during that time, blue states traditionally didn't do enough building and red states overbuilt because they had a whole bunch of people coming in. So I think in the super short term, I invest a ton in Texas. I love Texas. I think you're going to see less appreciation in markets like this because we overbuilt here.
And they tend to be more proactive and conservative in nature about the life and financing and things, and they're not always as driven by the size of things they get in their house and quality. They have aesthetics. We do. We're in the Midwest. Well, technically, we're not in the Midwest. Midwest is above us. We're in Missouri, you're in Texas, but there's just a different viewpoint into what the value of life is, and it isn't about having a 9,000 square foot house.
Exactly.
Exactly.
And that's what drew me to Texas. However, in a blue state where I do own a lot of property, what we're seeing is expenses went way up. So rents were going up to match. We underbuilt, and now interest rates are coming down. You're probably going to see accelerated appreciation if you are in those blue states. If you already own there, probably a bad time to sell because I think we're paced really well. Supply has not increased, but demand is going up. Pricing logically is going to go up in your California, Oregon, Washington, New York, so all of your traditionally blue states. Red states, it's not going to go down. It's just going to be kind of stagnant and boring for the next probably 18 months. And then I think we will start to see quite a bit of growth as a lot of our way overprinting of money continues to have ripple effects in the economy. But for the meantime, rates got really high. If you're going to buy a deal, pricing isn't really going to get better than it is right now, really anywhere in the country. This is probably your last year to really start loading up before we have our next upswing. My opinion, buy in a way that doesn't care what the market's doing. So you don't have to worry about it. But that's my opinion on the market. Blue states going up, red states kind of boring, cash flowing. Just buy good deals that cash flow on long-term debt and then hold them forever. And you'll definitely build a lot of wealth.
Yeah, fantastic. Are you bullish on things in the coming year with the changes that are coming, even geopolitical things, stuff you're seeing in the market itself, trends, anything?
I'm bullish on real estate, really, regardless, because we have the election coming up and we have this super mega polar opposite. We candidates right now, like maximum opposite economic policies. That's going to play a role in how real estate looks going forward. However, you have one party that I think is going to print the daylights out of money and is talking about giving everyone free money to buy their first house, which is going to just increase prices. I'm seeing a lot of policies on one candidate's side that's going to increase inflation, which will push real estate values. And I'm seeing one who's going to cut taxes who happens to own a lot of real estate themselves, who's going to be favorable to real estate. Either way, I think you're fine if you already own real estate. You're probably looking pretty okay. I am a little bit worried, depending on who gets elected, on how we start treating taxation as you get a lot of assets. There's a lot
real
of
estate
talk
and
about.
unrealized gains could become a big problem.
Unrealized gains would be a problem for a lot of
Unrealized
reasons.
gains to be a big problem for every business
Professional
owner.
opinion, though, all of the constituents of every candidate, all the special interest groups, have a lot of money and a lot of wealth.
Mm.
I'm imagining there's a lot of headwinds against anyone actually trying to put that
You would
through.
think there have to be, right? I mean, because if they're looking at $1 billion is a lot of money. If you go stack that up, look at it, go do the quick YouTube on what does $1 billion look like, you're going to realize how unfathomably large that actually is. So
It's
if
a
you're
lot of
looking at,
money.
okay, I shift $1 billion around in my market somewhere at the top end of the 1% of 1% of everybody, and they're going to move that capital somewhere that creates an unrealized taxable event, they're really going to get hit on $250 million and be okay with that? No. Like
Yeah,
there's just mega numbers in challenge to the possibilities of the reality of that actually hitting the deck.
And if I end up selling at a loss, so say I go, my portfolio is worth something and the market pulls back, do I get reassessed and do I get to recapture? Like, how would one even?
It's so questionable in all of the possible scenarios of execution, outcome, and how the market would receive it. I don't even know how the dang thing would work. All it would do is basically force a lot of unfortunate people to sell assets to make up for unrealized gains. If you just look what happened in the last 3 to 4 years, with house prices going up, all of those people would be getting tax bills in the next year for 3 to 4 years of unrecognized gains in their homes, tax bills that are more than their entire mortgage. Now what? Yeah, brings up some serious questions.
Yes, it does. So hopefully that doesn't go through. But outside of anything catastrophic like that, where just you have a horrendously bad policy, which there's nothing you can really do to safeguard against, realistically.
Not really.
That goes under the stuff happens category.
Another S word.
Yeah, the things that are predictable.
Uh-huh.
Nothing is to me. There's nothing all that interesting going on in the economy. Real estate right now is kind of considered boring because it's just people love it when rates are low, and it's just kind of plugging along. And
the
there's
yelling at who's right, who's wrong, and who quotes the right stock and gets jacked by it. For us, I'm interested in the econ world personally because of the way we see the markets shift and the buying and the opportunities for physical goods, and that's a continuing, always ever shifting, ever evolving market as more and more people continue to purchase online and take retail and shift retail to online. There are potentially trillions of dollars in the next decade or less that are going to be shifting into online mechanisms. And I look at that and go, woo! Even in the downturn market.
Like, this whole studio just arrived at my house. I've been putting stuff together. It's like we got Wayfair, we got Amazon coming in.
Yeah.
Vendors are coming in. My appliances magically came in. It's like all this, there are like 5 or 6 different companies, but the whole house is getting put together. And I'm like, I never went shopping for anything. I don't even know where the stores are here yet. I just moved in and stuff's appearing.
Thank you, wife.
That wasn't a thing that long ago.
No, it's not.
Everything wasn't magically shipped a decade ago. Like you couldn't get everything to your house. You can get it like next day. I forgot a cord for our podcast.
Yeah.
I thought about it on the plane. The cord arrived the same day. Like it arrived.
Yeah.
By the time I drove to my house, it's there. I'm like, wow. Yeah. E-commerce and just the whole virtual world.
Yeah.
It's interesting. In real estate, it's been fun to watch what that's done to industrial too, with
virtual and physical real estate, just 2 different ways of moving inventory, right?
Exactly. Very interesting though.
Is there another question or something I didn't bring up for our call that you want to talk about?
You know what? I think one thing I do like to share, I've alluded to creative finance a bunch in here, and that's usually what people get all excited about when
how do you buy something for nothing?
Yeah. If you don't have money, which I didn't, like I bought my 2 duplexes out of cash. I'd spent all my money on renovating them. They're in great position, but we made millions and millions of dollars in net worth and in cash over the last 3 years, just through real estate, playing this game strategically, and I think pretty frugally. The way that you could buy any property, the simplest way to do it is you just go out and you meet people who've already done what you want to do. It turns out, if your goal is to get 100 rental properties, as an example, the people in your market who already have 100 know how to do it. What people tend to do, and this is in every business, so take what I do in real estate and apply it to whatever you're interested in. People tend to go after distressed properties in real estate. You see it all over online. Find the beat up house and the worst. It's buy small, scale small to large, which I think is completely wrong. And then it's buy the distressed stuff. You know what? I've never really learned a good real estate tip from someone who's in the middle of losing their property or who has a distressed property. But the people who have hundreds of rental properties, the people who are winning the game right now, I've just gone out and I asked them, I told them where my business is on a phone call. I just said, hey, I have 2 duplexes. You have a 20-unit building on the street. I don't know how to do that. What made you think to buy bigger than a duplex? And then they'd usually tell me, or they go, I'm not selling. I was like, good. I just spent all my money on this duplex. I could not buy
Couldn't
it.
afford it anyways.
If you said buy it right now at half price, couldn't do it. I have
Right.
no ability. I want to know how you learned, how you built your business.
Yeah.
In every town I buy in, all of the owners know who I am. I've never asked them to sell. But when something transacts, people remember back to my first conversation. That's right. He's trying to retire his wife and he's getting out of duplexes. I know a guy who might want to buy this. And I get the phone call. Also, people who are winning at the game, they tend to already have money. They need less cash. It's just organically, I do a lot of seller finance deals because they have a lot of equity. They've had portfolios for a while. They don't usually need more money right now. And so we negotiate things in payments. And then I had the ability about 2 weeks ago, I sold one of my property management companies on seller finance terms because I'm in a position now where I have a portfolio and I didn't need the money. I was able to pass it to the next person for a note because it worked better for my tax planning. I learn all this just by meeting people. So if you're trying to figure out like, where would one start in even getting creative terms? I think before you even start learning the math, which is actually quite simple, just go find the people who've already done what you want to do. They'll pretty much show you how to do it. And a lot of us started with less money than we have today. It means we learned something or had someone help us along the way. Seller financing is a way for a lot of people either to estate plan or to help the next person out. If they trust you, they're more likely to lend to you. It's a great way to get going. Your step one is find the person in your market who's done the thing that you want to do in whatever business. Take them out to coffee and do not ask them to sell their property or their business. Just ask them how to build it. It's implied if you're trying to build the business that you're probably a buyer. Don't be weird and don't be transactional, and you will stand out from everyone in your market, be able to put together deals. I always want to share that with people because I think people start wrong. They think about the money or they think about the deal. I'm not working with sellers. I'm working with other owners. Everyone's an owner. There's no such thing as a seller, just other people at different places in their investment career. So
do you work with assisting people in there, or do you partner with people in capital now and how you help people, Christian? Or how are you? If somebody wants to sit
the two ways
maybe take you to coffee if they're in
Texas
Texas or pick your brain a little bit, how do they do that?
Yeah. So let me take 38 as an example, just we brought that deal up earlier. That was 85% seller finance. So awesome. I found a deal at a price that I love, and I found 85% of the money. It is a lot more palatable and easy to wrap your head around it if you deal first, then a debt product that matches it. My deal's 85% done. Now I just need to find 15% of the money for a deal I believe in. That I can wrap my head around. Now, I didn't have any friends or family. I didn't have any cash. I didn't know where that was coming from, but I went under contract with the belief that this deal is fantastic. I think it's going to make me $1 million. I can find $300,000 to make over $1 million. I can do that. Anyone can do that. I asked a real estate brokerage office if they have any who only did small multifamily. Do you have any clients who are buying duplexes who would like to buy bigger properties like I'm doing right now? They're like, oh, I actually do have a few. I was given 4 names. I called all 4. 3 of them brought $100,000. Magically deal closed. I had them as partners until I bought them out when I refinanced. I do have partners on real estate. I do not syndicate. I don't crowdsource. I'll take 1 or 2 people on a joint venture. It goes deal first, then the debt. And if you can fund it all with debt and it cash flows, you're done. If you need to bring in an equity partner or you need a down payment that you don't have, you bring in a partner. And so I do have partners, and I have brought on people into the either portfolio or into various businesses. If I'm lacking something, knowledge or money that is needed to get a deal done, you bring in people. I always have a clear-cut fixed price that I can buy them out at a later date, though.
And what are you looking at as if they come to the table? What should they look at as a minimum or maximum input? Should be 50.
That's the fun thing with creative finance. You get what you negotiate. I had a deal, 6plex. They came to me with a goal of I want to double my money every 5 years in real estate. I keep doing flips. I make money, then I lose money, then I make money, I lose money. I just want to double my money. I was like, I have a deal that is it cash flows, but it's low cash flow day one. There's a lot of rental growth opportunity. I have a 5-year fixed rate note, which is shorter than I like, but it's what I had on it at 4.5% interest only. I need $90,000 to close it. It's a $900,000 purchase. I can absolutely pay you $180 in 5 years as long as I get all the cash flow throughout the deal. So they got no monthly distributions. But in 5 years, they double their money, which was their goal. So it was only an equity multiple. In 5 years, they double their money.
Strategy. Yeah.
That works. Go in the other direction. If I was to say I can buy you out at cost in 5 years, I'm probably giving them a preferred return, which just means the first money in the deal, of maybe 10 or 12%. So if you structure it like debt in today's market, anywhere from like 8 to 14% is, depending on who, would be a reasonable return, and depending on what it's backed by. And then doubling their money roughly every 5 years, if you're just multiplying their money, is if you do it all equity. If you want to blend the two and come somewhere in between, you can do that, but it's creative. So you negotiate. That's just, if you're imagining what the playing field is, that's roughly where the sidelines seem to be in real estate.
Makes sense. Well, man, that's a lot of information to unpack today. I hope everybody was taking notes and listening, because there's a lot of great stuff we shared in the last 35 minutes or so on here. I'm going to wrap it up for now, because if we keep going, we're going to explode somebody's
I'm sorry, I have a tendency to do that.
I'll
go as long as you ask questions.
Great. You brought it. You brought the numbers. You brought the receipts. Guys, you're going to want to listen to this again and go back through what he said. And of course, where do they reach you? Instagram, great place. Where do you want them to go chat with you if you have any questions?
Instagram, absolutely. Shoot me a DM there. I do answer all of them. That is at Christian Osgood, OSGOD. Everywhere else, it's Multifamily Strategy. Multifamilystrategy.com is where I run my coaching and mentorship program. It's also where we run our YouTube channel, which has, I think we're close to 2,000 videos.
Excellent.
And that's all the information for free. Check it out on the YouTube. Check me out on Instagram. Happy to see you any of those places, but it's Christian, Multifamily Strategy.
Thank you so much for spending some time with me today, brother, and sharing some good word.
Dude, thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.